Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm going to be doing my Project 10 use update. I haven't done this in a while. I did mention in my previous video, if you saw that, it was a jumble of a Shop My Stash makeup organization. I also did a little get ready with me. In the get ready with me part, I was speaking about the fact that I feel like the Project 10 uses has been good for me overall. However, I think I'm going to give myself a little bit of a break. So this is the finale for this year. I'm not going to go forth until December with this. I'm going to do the finale a little bit sooner. I just am at the point, I think right now, where I need to step back a little bit, enjoy my makeup and not have to follow the rules that I set myself with a Project 10 use sort of goal in mind. I massively obviously failed in September, and I have also failed somewhat in October too. And for the items that I've just pulled from my Shop My Stash in that last video that I posted, I don't want to have to force myself to use them 10 times, at least not now. I might bring this back in January or February or even sooner, who knows, but I think right now just want to give myself a little bit of a breather. However, I did track majority of use on all the items that I pulled back in August. This was a while back, and some of them I did use 10 times. Obviously with my eyeshadow, I try to do a no pan left behind. So I kind of tried to do that with those. That one I will most likely bring back come the new year. So I most likely will do a no pan left behind style video with my eyeshadow, because I have liked tracking how many times I use an eyeshadow. It works with my overall numbers that I have in my spreadsheet, which I did share a little bit of what it looks like in that video. And so, obviously the Virgo in me is I want to keep that going. I don't want to stop tracking that. But I think with everything else, there's certain makeups that I want to use once or twice, and then I want to go to something else, and I don't want to have to force myself. And obviously, if I'm not grabbing something for months and months on end, A, it might be because it's the wrong season, or B, I might just not like that item and I need to start decluttering items that I have. I mean, I think I do a pretty good job at decluttering when I do my Shop My Stash Project 10 use, because I kind of see if an item I like is not doing very well, or just something that I'm really struggling to use 10 times. Anyway, enough about me talking about nonsense. Let's get into it. I have so much stuff in front of me. As always, I just don't know. I don't know how to function. So let's move everything. I mean, some of this stuff I need to talk about, but let's move everything, because I put everything on top of my little notebook here, which was not very helpful. All right, so yeah, I've been tracking this since August. And so this is a little bit of August, September, and also October in here. Although, to be fair, a lot of the times that I have used this makeup, either this month or September, I have not tracked it. I definitely took a step back from tracking stuff, just simply because I took a step back from everything. I just got very, very ill. Anyway, so let's start. There are a few things that I've highlighted that I actually did use 10 times, which is good. But let's start with the first thing on the list, which is my Fenty lip gloss here. This one, I was only supposed to use it 4 more times. I used it 3 times. I didn't even get to the 10 uses, but obviously, everything's being rolled out because I already pulled stuff from my Shop My Stash. So everything I talk about, I am putting it back in my drawer because I'm literally sick of looking at it. I really am. But this one, I did not hit my goal, unfortunately. Missed it by 1 use. I will say there is my Colourpop lip oil in one of my bags. I know it's in my bag. It's the orange one, and it's called Peachy Keen. I was supposed to use 8 times. I used it 7 times. But honestly, I think I used it more than 8 times because that was in my bag and it's still in my bag. So I haven't gone to get that one. So that one's the only one that's not in front of me unless I've completely lost something. Next up on the list is my MAC blush. This is the Fairly Precious Extra Dimension Blush. This one I needed to use 7 more times. I used it 6 more times. What is wrong with me? Why am I failing by 1 point? I do not know. But I actually could have even used this today, but I decided to use something different today. I almost grabbed it. I really like this blush. This is something that I probably did use more than how many times I counted it, because I do think I have gone into this quite a bit. But yeah, unfortunately on my list, I did not hit the goal. The Colourpop blush though, however, I did. This is the Fresh and Peachy. This I have on today. But this one I have used 11 times in total, and I was only meant to use it 7 more times. So I've used it more than 10 times, and I really do like that blush. I think it's just a pretty color, and I might just continue using it. I'm not entirely sure. Next up, I've got a lipstick here. This is the Pure Envy lip gloss from Estee Lauder, and honestly, when I pulled it, it just wasn't the good time of year to use this. Right now, it is the good time of year, so I don't know if I'll maybe just grab this again in a few weeks or a few days' time, because it is a really nice, rich mauve shade. This one, I needed to use 6 more times. I used it 1 more time. It just didn't go. Like, it was so sunny and so hot in September and also the first part of October. And I just didn't feel wintry. Like now, it's like towards the end of October and I'm feeling wintry because it's rainy and it's cold now. So now I want to wear those shades. So, you know, again, it's like all about timing sometimes with these. And that's another reason why I kind of want to take a step back from my Project 10, because I was pulling things that maybe necessarily wouldn't work for the full like month or 2 that I would use that item, and then I just wouldn't use it and I would feel like a failure. So whatever. Next up, we've got my Sosie Jackson bronzer stick. This one I was supposed to use 6 more times. I used it only the once. I really was using my ABH bronzer, the cream bronzer, this month. Or even last month, quite a lot, and then also my Technic powder bronzer. So those were the 2 that I was really using. So that one definitely took a step back. Then we've got my Laura Geller baked highlighter, although I use it as a finishing powder. This is in the shade French Vanilla, just simply because it's not really a highlighter. This one I was supposed to use 5 more times, and I actually did. So, woo, I actually got another one. Okay, next up we've got my Natasha Denona bronze palette. This one I was supposed to use 6 more times. I used it 3 more times. And really the shades that only one shade that I used was this shade right here, because this is a really beautiful blush. It's like a bronzy blush. It's really lovely. And I used that, I think, a few days when I wasn't really wearing makeup, and I just popped that on. But otherwise, I love this palette. I just didn't feel the need to use it. Okay, and then I actually do have another lip product here that I know is in a bag. So my NYX Salted Caramel lip gloss. This one I was supposed to use 5 more times, and I did use it 5 more times or more. It's in a bag. I haven't gone to get it, so there's nothing to say about that. I will eventually get it from my bag. Next up, we've got my Essence spray. This is the Hello Good Stuff Happy Bliss face spray. I'm about less than half now. This one I was only supposed to use 7 more times, but I used it a total of 14 times that I at least tracked. So a lot of the time I just spritz my face with this and then didn't do anything else. Or if I did, it was a very light touch of makeup. Because a lot of those times when I wasn't sick, I was going to the beach. It was either beach or be sick throughout September. It was, yeah, a little bit of both too. Not the best time, but I did use this quite a bit, honestly. I haven't actually used it at all this month, I don't think. Just got sick of it. So that one I've definitely used over 10 times. Another one that I've used over 10 times is my Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Flawless Filter. This one I was only supposed to use 4 more times, but I used it 10 times. And you can clearly see that I'm a little bit above halfway. So there's still plenty of product left in here, still works great. Majority of the lettering is all gone, which I know happens with everyone's. I still like this. I know that a lot of people say it's overpriced or nothing special. For me, those days when I didn't want to wear foundation, this was absolutely amazing for me. So yeah, I still like it. I'll probably wear less of it throughout the winter. I just don't think it's really a winter item for me. However, I don't want it to go bad, so I might dip into it, you know, occasionally. We'll see. Okay, and then I've got my NYX lip liner here. This is the Line Loud in the shade Stay Stunting. This one I was supposed to use 7 times. I used it the once. Okay, moving on. We've got my MAC Fix Spray here. This one, you know, hasn't really gone down too much. I did, however, use it 10 times. This one I rolled it in my last project, my last Shop My Stash, not the one I just filmed, but the last one, which was back in August. So I've only used it 10 times in like 2.5 months, but I've used it, so. And then next up, I left another item in a makeup bag, my Wet n Wild concealer. It is the Photo Focus concealer. It's a nice concealer. That one I also had rolled in the last update, and I have used it 10 times. I feel really bad. There's all this makeup that's in bags, and I know there's multiple different, it's not just one bag that they're all in. It's like 3 different bags, and I don't know which bags they're in. So I just know from my memory, I took them somewhere and I never took them out of the bag. So I need to find them and put them back in my drawers. But anyway, that one I used 10 times. I forgot about that one. Moving on, we've got the Tarte foundation. This one, I'm almost done. I feel like I could try to pan this, honestly. I used it so much. I only put down that I used it 11 times. I swear I used it more because this, if I was going to use a foundation, this is the foundation that I used during those months, or I used the Wet n Wild concealer, like it was one or the two. This is Fair Neutral. It's the Maracuja Tinted Hydrator. Honestly, I don't mind it. It's got really terrible coverage though. So if you really want like good coverage or even medium coverage, this is not a good one. But for me, like being out in the sun, this was fine because I didn't want like a full face of coverage. I just wanted a very light coverage. And it worked really nicely with my Charlotte Tilbury. So yeah, that one I definitely used quite a bit. Next up, I've got this one, which is the Smoothie Stick from Beauty Crop. It is in the shade Saucy Marcella, and I needed to use it 10 times. I just rolled it in and I used it the 3 times. But this is another one where I'm actually at the point now where I need to roll it up. I'm super excited, but there's so much product. This is the time of year where I love this shade. It's like this sort of brick red brown. I don't know. I really like it. It's like a rusty brown color with some orange. I'm probably going to end up using it quite a bit for the next month or 2, but just like on and off. I'm not going to be tracking it. Then we've got my Kiss and Smink Cream Blush. This one is in the shade Tulum, and it's just one of these stick blushes. Beautiful. I know I used this on my lips once, but other times I did use it on my cheeks. I used it 5 times in total, so I missed out on 5 uses on this one. And then I've got my Beauty Bay lipstick. This is in the shade Tea, and this is broken. Like, I'll do it all the way up, but the actual lipstick came off one day, so it's quite a mess in there. However, I really love this color, so I don't really care. This one though, I only used the 4 times. Haven't been wearing a lot of lip products lately. However, this one I'm most likely going to be using throughout the rest of the winter, just because I think it's one of my favorite shades to wear. It's a very easy shade to wear as well. And then I have my W7 primer. This one is it's Glow Time Radiant Primer, and it's a little bit tinted. It's a little bit like the Charlotte Tilbury one, where it's very glowy and tinted, but it's not Charlotte Tilbury. It's not as good. This one I only used the 2 times, so kind of a fail on that one. And before I go on to eyeshadows, I have a couple more items. I did roll in these Gloss Gods water activated liners, but I hardly did my makeup and I only used one of them. I think I used this one, and that was it. So those ones I did not use. And then I have one blush palette here from NARS, and then everything else is eyeshadow. So the blush palette I used a total of 7 times, and I actually did use all of the shades once. I really like this. It is baked though, so it's going to take me absolutely forever. I don't know how Alex hits pan on these because they take so long. Like, I have all of the sort of embossing still, and nothing's wiped away. Definitely this part of the palette is my favorite. These two kind of scare me. I mean, they are pretty, but they're just not my go-to shades. But definitely this quad right here is absolutely stunning. So yeah, I used that and I used all the shades in there. So I feel like that's a win at least. Okay, moving on to eyeshadow. I had my Nabla Dreamy palette. This one I rolled in. I actually used it 4 times. So with the eyeshadow palettes, I wanted to use at least 5 times or more. So almost hit my use on this one. I did not use all of the shades, but I really love this palette. And I'm thinking of what palettes I want to pan next year, and I think this would be a really good contender. And I know I've seen some other people use this as a pan that palette, and I just think for an all year round palette, I think this would be really nice, and I wouldn't get sick of the quality because the quality is still really good. So that one, yeah, I used not all of the shades. I think, yeah, there's like 5 shades that I did not use. But anyway, then we've got my NARS Afterglow palette. This one I only used 3 times, but I did hit a pan in this, and I did speak about it in my beauty bank video. I hit pan in this shade right here, which is called Push It, and it is my favorite shade in the palette. So I already had a pretty significant dent in there, but I used it 3 times and I hit pan on it. Otherwise, I think, yeah, I used this shade, and then I think this shade, and that's about it. So yeah, only 3 uses on here. Kind of a fail for that palette because I did want to get a little bit more use on it. Then I have my Pastel Roses singles here with also a mix of some Makeup Obsession singles too, because I did like a nice little color story, which I think is a really beautiful color story. So this one, the palette itself, I used 4 times. And I went into this Pastel Rose a few times, and then I also went into this one once, and then these 2, and I think one of the greens. I think I went into this green and maybe this one. But yeah, I didn't use all of the shades on here. These are beautiful, and I'm glad that I at least got a little bit more use on them. You can kind of see there's a little bit, maybe you can't, but I can. So at least I used it somewhat. Okay, and then moving on, I did roll into the project the It's My Pleasure from Colourpop. However, mine is completely different because I did rearrange everything. And this one I only used the once, and I think I used it in my Get Ready With Me when I rolled it. So I just never went back to it. So it's definitely something that I want to go back to for a No Pan Left Behind, because I haven't really played with that color story. It's very muted with obviously the greens and then a pop of like purple. I don't know, I just find it very interesting. So I think even like this time of year, I think it would work really well. I also have my Blue Moon, which I have not gone into. I only went into the once. I think it was in my Project 10 use for 2 months. And this last month, I just used it the once. So again, this one I haven't really explored too much. But what I will say about this one is this color story is not my favorite. It's more of a companion palette for me because I just don't go into blues that much. And, you know, I don't know how to pair the blues with the purples and then the green. I don't know. I think this one, even though it looks pretty, it's kind of confusing to put a look together. So I might have to rearrange that one another time. And then the last palette that I was supposed to be using is my Midnight palette from Beauty Bay. And I have not touched this at all. I've not touched it at all in like 2.5 months because it is so dark. It is beyond dark. And when you're going to the beach or the sun is out and it's super hot and you're barely wearing makeup anyway, or you feel sick, are you going to be going into these shades? I certainly wasn't. These were not the type of shades that I was in the mood for. I mean, I don't mind doing like a pop of light blue in the summer. I think that's pretty. But this is a very dark palette. So, you know, for me, it's way more wintry, and there's hardly any light shades in here, which I know I mentioned that in a previous video, but it's kind of hard for me to use this palette because I think it's just too dark overall, which is such a shame. So yeah, I don't know, not my favorite palette. And I did not do a no pan left behind, obviously, because I barely touched it. So that is unfortunately my update for my Project 10 uses. I guess massively failed, but also, quite a lot of things are happening in my life, and makeup has taken a huge backseat. So when I have done my makeup, it just hasn't been like for the purpose of projects. So hopefully you can understand that, but I still want to do an update just to, give you an idea of what I have used. And yeah, like I said, my Project 10 uses, this is my finale for now. And hopefully I can bring it back, because honestly, for the majority of the year that I've done this, I have enjoyed it. It's just, I'm not in the habit of, I'm just not there yet. So I don't want to have to force myself for the next couple months, rather just give myself some time to breathe and come back to it when I feel like it makes sense for me. So anyway, I hope everyone is doing well. And if you stayed this long, give me a little pumpkin emoji. I have a little pumpkin. I have a pumpkin. I'm kind of trying. But anyway, thank you so much, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.